Hello, I'm Christy McBrayer, and I have something in common with Elvis Presley. I was born in Tupelo, Mississippi. Tupelo, Mississippi is my hometown. Well, the neighboring community of Saltillo. And the actual road of Elvis's birthplace is called Old Saltillo Road. And that's where all of this begins. The story that I'm about to tell you starts with a car chase down this particular dark road on a muggy Mississippi night. It ends in a shootout, a slain sheriff, and 2 more dead bodies. Law enforcement officers, court trials, bar fights, suicide, prison, kidnapping, red duct tape,
who in
and
2023 ran
murder.
a formidable
Here's
campaign
the story
for governor of the great
Tupelo
state of
Presleys.
Mississippi, but he lost by a narrow margin.
Twisted Mayberry, Mississippi. Good old boys club, Kentucky whiskey. Backwood politics, crooked like the river. They hid the facts, now gone like a whisper. I went out of my head, I'll get it back. What makes a depraved heart act? Was it all in the King's name that made the jailbreak? How much more can these men take?
I'll tell you a little bit about me. After completing my undergraduate from Delta State University and master's from the University of Southern Mississippi, I headed out, as they say, straight off the turnip truck from Tupelo and directly to downtown Babylon, Hollywood, California, to pursue an acting and writing career, which parlayed into stand-up comedy, and then it evolved into my one-woman show, Southern Fried Chickie, that I have toured nationally for 2 decades. 20 years ago, I came back to Tupelo to visit my family and friends. And while at the breakfast table, chowing down on the religious experience that is my mama's biscuits and chocolate gravy, I was met with my first fascination with the Presley story in the Tupelo Daily Journal. By the way, for those of you who are not from the American South, Mamaw is a moniker for grandmother, and chocolate gravy is a divine chocolate sauce that is poured over homemade scratch biscuits, and it's absolutely delectable. Even living in Los Angeles for several years, I had heard of the shooting of Sheriff Harold Ray Presley. Heck, it even made national news.
In Tupelo, Mississippi, a sheriff who was a cousin of Elvis Presley was killed in a shootout early today that also left a suspect dead. The gun battle began after a man fled from a police roadblock and pushed a woman nude and bound with tape from his car, authorities said. The man wrecked his car and was later cornered in a shed at a nearby home. Lee County Sheriff Harold Ray Presley shoved a deputy out of the way and was apparently shot several times, but returned fire, killing Billy Ray Stone, authorities said. Harold Presley's father was the brother of Elvis Presley's grandfather, making them first cousins once removed. The late king of rock and roll was born in Tupelo in 1935. A wall of Presley's office was covered with Elvis Presley pictures and posters.
Charlene Presley said that she was told that the news of his death actually went across the big screen in Times Square in New York City. And naturally, my friends and family had mentioned it to me on long-distance phone calls, which were very expensive back then. But it certainly did rivet Mississippi. However, I was then, almost to the day, 1 year later, reading in the newspaper about the trials, pun intended, and tribulations of Harold Ray's son Patrick, his daughter Jada, and the suffering of Harold Ray's wife and their mother, Charlene Presley. I was captivated, and I felt such sympathy for this family. I also thought to myself, what an incredible screenplay this would make. A true instance of truth is stranger than fiction. You just can't make this stuff up. It all happened in such a short period of time, all so quickly and all so tragically. Sheriff Harold Ray Presley actually won the Buford Pusser Award. Now, for those of you who don't know who Buford Pusser is, he is one of the most renowned historical characters of a Southern sheriff of all time. And if you've ever heard of the Walking Tall movies, well, they were based upon Sheriff Pusser's life. Now, many people have compared Sheriff Harold Ray Presley to Sheriff Pusser, including his nephew, Brandon Presley,
who in 2023 ran a formidable campaign for governor of the great state of Mississippi, but he lost by a narrow margin.
I just must say that I found these two women, Charlene and Jada Presley, positively fascinating. Such tough and interesting women. At the time, I was hoping to play the role of Jada Presley because she's only a few years younger than I am. When all of this occurred 20 years ago, it would be about right. Now, if this podcast successfully were to lead to a movie, I am currently the age that Charlene was then. And let me just say, I would be thrilled to portray her because we have truly become very good friends over all of these years. So after that visit, I asked my father to send me the clippings from the newspapers as the story unfolded. Well, I really wanted to do this and write this screenplay, but like so many young people in the entertainment industry, I was distracted with other projects, live performances, and I just left it on the back burner for a long time. But I never stopped thinking about it, and I could never believe that someone had not snatched it up yet. So on New Year's Day of 2017, I was living and performing in Austin, Texas, and I thought to myself, I wonder if my friend Deanna Whaley and I couldn't just film on our iPads and our iPhones and turn this into a documentary on a low budget. I was able to track down Charlene Presley. It took a little bit, and then I began talking with her, and she generously trusted me. My friend Deanna and I made several trips back to Tupelo, and we interviewed many involved in the case with a whole lot of help from Charlene. Then I decided in August of 2018 that I would move back to Tupelo for a little bit after almost 30 years to help take care of my grandmother, who I mentioned earlier, my beloved grandmother, Mama, and work on this project. Well, before long, I wound up meeting a hometown guy, and then I actually got married for the first time this late in life and decided to stay. In certain ways, my connection with Charlene, I believe, and the interest in this story is responsible for that. And now, finally, after all of these years, the podcast forum and the help of my producer, Melinda Marsalis, Chris Marsalis at JC Media and Sun Bear Studios, it's finally happening. Depraved Heart Murder, the Tupelo Presleys. I hope you enjoy it.
This jealous vendetta is still a mystery. But this family's namesake won't be left out in history. I went out of my head, I'll get it back. What makes a depraved heart act? Was it all in the king's name that made the jailbreak?